This is going to be a quick little tutorial on setting up Visual Studio 2019 for you. We're not going to be using Visual Studio Code because it's a very different program as well. Again, if you've got Visual Studio and you're trying to install it on a Mac, obviously you want to set that up instead than just Visual Studio 2019, but you figure out what's going to work for you the best. We can just go ahead and give us a quick little Google search. Visual Studio should be one of the first links. We'll go ahead and click on the Downloads tab, and here we'll have three different options. We're not using Visual Studio for professional or enterprise, so we're not going to need any sort of licensing code for that. So I'm going to go ahead and click Community, which will start downloading the installer. I've already got this all installed, but you can still open up the installer again and we can take a look at what's going on here. Like I said, it's already installed, but I will show you what it looks like when it pops up. You'll have a bunch of these different options for programmers and programming types that you can use. Visual Studio is very interesting and has a fairly broad spectrum of what it can actually affect and cover. There's over here Linux development with C++. Up top there's programming in C#, Visual Basic, F#, some Python development, JavaScript, as well. I'm personally interested in doing development in C++, so we'll go ahead and select that. And it'll tell me what all of those different packages are inside of that and what it's going to be downloading, and it'll obviously start downloading that. As soon as that's all taken care of, it'll launch Visual Studio, which we will, oops, that's the wrong application, Visual Studio 2019. And it'll kind of look like this here. Very simple, very clean. And when we're going to create a new project, obviously on the right side on the left we can see our recent projects, but on the right we're going to go ahead and create a new project. There are a bunch of different file types and program formats if you want to try and use those, make files and that sort of thing for C++. I'm personally interested in doing a console application. It's very simple, and it always starts the program off with your main function, and it just gives you a little hello world. So we'll call this test project, and then it shows me where it's storing it on my drive. And something that's important to do is make sure you click place solution for the project in the same directory as the project. Otherwise, you're going to end up with some issues when it comes to compile time, and unless you're going to run those solutions and compile using a terminal, you need to make sure that that's selected. Otherwise, you're going to have a couple problems. Here's what this looks like. It's very clean. I've got it in dark mode right now just because it's easier on my eyes. What we see here is that it's, again, just giving us a very basic hello world function. It gives you some information about debugging, getting started, and how that all operates. I'm going to go ahead and just make sure I comment what we're doing here. Nick, test, project, description. This is a test. Nice. Again, by default, it's going to give us that hello world program. I'll go ahead and delete that comment. I don't think it's as necessary. And something as well, we notice there's this std for the standard out, or the standard console. We're just going to get rid of that. And up here under IOStream, just going to insert it as a namespace, so I don't have to write std every time I want to do an standard out or in. That'll just prevent that from having to run. We'll go ahead and run the local debugger, which would pop up my console application. This is what it looks like in the console. Just says, hey, here's the path, here's the executable, what's going on, any issues, and then just printing hello world. It's also interesting, you can see as it's compiling any sort of issues and things that are going on, and the kernel's being loaded as well. Something I love about this debugger as opposed to other IDEs is that if you have issues, it's very explicit about what's going on. It'll highlight and actually show you potential fixes where sometimes others don't. Shows you, again, inside the main, you can search online for potential fixes, or just here we'll see, hey, you need a colon or a semicolon right there. If we actually go ahead and try to run this, it'll tell us that we've got errors, and you can either run the last successful build or just, I'm going to cancel this here just to take a look at what our output is. It says, hey, we've got a syntax error, we're missing a semicolon before this parenthesis, this parenthetical. And it tells us where that line is, what file and what project it's a part of. If you've got a project with multiple files or multiple classes or multiple objects all open at the same time, this is very useful to be able to navigate your debugger and actually appropriately fix your things. I've got some other programs where I'm having issues with pointers and referencing and dereferencing, and so something like this becomes very useful when you've got a bajillion different symbols that all look the same. It just simply allows you to fix that. Again, that's just going to be it to fix this here, and the program will run just as we need it to.